World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, left an indelible mark on the 20th century and beyond. It was a global conflagration that engulfed nations and continents, leaving behind a trail of unimaginable destruction and loss. From the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of Southeast Asia, the war touched the lives of millions, forever altering the course of history. The sheer scale of the conflict was unprecedented, with over 60 countries participating and an estimated 40 to 85 million people losing their lives. The war's impact went far beyond battlefield casualties, shaping the geopolitical landscape, accelerating technological advancements, and leaving lasting social, economic, and political consequences. From the ashes of this devastating conflict emerged a new world order, marked by the rise of superpowers, the dawn of the atomic age, and the struggle for decolonization. World War II remains a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and intolerance. The echoes of World War II continue to reverberate today, shaping our understanding of international relations, human rights, and the importance of global cooperation. The lessons learned from this cataclysmic event serve as a constant reminder of the need to prevent such atrocities from ever happening again. The study of World War II, therefore, remains as relevant as ever, offering valuable insights into the complexities of human nature, the dangers of extremism, and the enduring quest for peace. The outbreak of World War II was not a sudden event, but rather the culmination of a complex web of political, economic, and ideological factors that had been brewing for years. The world was still reeling from the devastation of World War I, and the global landscape was fraught with tension and uncertainty. Nations were grappling with economic hardships, political instability, and social unrest in the international environment. The seeds of conflict were sown in the aftermath of World War I, with the Treaty of Versailles imposing harsh penalties on Germany and creating a climate of resentment and instability in Europe. The treaty not only stripped Germany of its territories, but also placed the entire blame for the war on its shoulders, leading to a deep sense of humiliation and anger among the German populace. The treaty's punitive measures, including territorial losses, disarmament, and crippling reparations payments, fueled German nationalism and a desire for revenge. The economic burden of the reparations crippled the German economy, leading to hyperinflation and widespread poverty. This economic despair created fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root as people sought solutions to their dire circumstances. Adding to this volatile mix was the rise of totalitarian regimes in Germany, Italy, and Japan. These regimes, characterized by their authoritarian rule and aggressive foreign policies, sought to expand their territories and influence. The leaders of these nations, driven by a desire for power and dominance, were willing to use military force to achieve their goals. Driven by expansionist ambitions and a disdain for the existing world order, these regimes sought to assert their dominance through military aggression and territorial conquest. Their actions destabilized regions and threatened the fragile peace that had been established after World War I. The aggressive policies of these regimes set the stage for a global conflict that would engulf the world.
The Nazi Party, led by me, capitalized on Germany's economic woes and national humiliation to seize power in 1933. We promised to restore Germany's former glory and to overturn the Treaty of Versailles. Our message resonated with a populace desperate for change and willing to support radical solutions. My ideology, rooted in racial hatred and a belief in German superiority, posed a direct threat to the peace and stability of Europe. We propagated the idea that the Aryan race was superior and that other races were inferior and a threat to our nation's purity and strength. This toxic ideology justified our aggressive expansionist policies and the persecution of those we deemed undesirable.
Further exacerbating the situation was the policy of appeasement adopted by Britain and France in the 1930s. These nations, still haunted by the horrors of World War I, were desperate to avoid another conflict. They believed that by making concessions to the aggressive powers, they could maintain peace and stability in Europe. Hoping to avoid another devastating war, these democracies made concessions to Hitler, allowing him to annex Austria and Czechoslovakia without consequence. This policy of appeasement was seen as a way to buy time and prevent immediate conflict, but it ultimately emboldened Hitler, making him believe that the Allies would not stand in his way. The appeasement policy, while well-intentioned, only emboldened Hitler and created a false sense of security that ultimately contributed to the outbreak of war. By allowing Hitler to expand unchecked, the Allies inadvertently encouraged his aggressive ambitions. This miscalculation would have dire consequences, as it paved the way for the full-scale invasion of Poland and the subsequent declaration of war by Britain and France. The failure of diplomacy and the appeasement of aggression set the stage for the catastrophic events that would unfold in the years to come. The world was plunged into a conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation, forever altering the course of history. The lessons learned from this period underscore the importance of vigilance and the dangers of underestimating the ambitions of aggressive powers. The storm finally broke on September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. This invasion was meticulously planned and executed, showcasing the might and ambition of the German military under Adolf Hitler's leadership. The invasion of Poland triggered a chain reaction, with Britain and France declaring war on Germany 2 days later. This marked the start of a conflict that would engulf the entire world, drawing in nations from every continent into a struggle for dominance and survival. The early stages of the war were characterized by Germany's blitzkrieg tactics, a lightning war strategy that employed mobile forces, tanks, and air power to overwhelm its opponents. This strategy was designed to create shock and disorganization among enemy forces, leading to rapid victories. Poland fell quickly, followed by Denmark, which was invaded in April 1940. Norway, which was crucial for its strategic ports and resources, and the Netherlands, which was swiftly occupied despite fierce resistance. Belgium, which faced a brutal invasion, and France, which fell in June 1940, after a rapid and devastating campaign by German forces.
The Battle of Britain, a pivotal moment in the war, saw the German Luftwaffe engage in a relentless air campaign against Britain. This was Hitler's attempt to gain air superiority in preparation for an invasion of Britain, codenamed Operation Sea Lion. However, the Royal Air Force, aided by radar and the determination of its pilots, successfully defended the island nation, thwarting Hitler's plans for an invasion. The resilience and bravery of the British pilots became legendary, symbolizing the nation's defiance.
In June 1941, Hitler broke his pact with Stalin and launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. This was the largest military operation in history, involving millions of troops and stretching across a vast front.
This decision would prove to be a costly miscalculation, as the Red Army, aided by the harsh Russian winter, put up fierce resistance, dragging Germany into a protracted and bloody conflict on the Eastern Front. The brutal conditions and fierce Soviet defense led to significant German losses.
On December 7, 1941, Japan, seeking to expand its empire in Asia, launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, bringing the United States into the war. This attack was a strategic move by Japan to cripple the US Pacific Fleet and secure its dominance in the region.
The attack on Pearl Harbor marked a turning point in the conflict, transforming it into a truly global struggle. The United States' entry into the war brought immense industrial and military power to the Allied forces, significantly altering the balance of power.
The war raged on for several more years, marked by brutal battles, immense suffering, and unprecedented destruction. Cities were reduced to rubble, millions of lives were lost, and the world witnessed horrors that would leave a lasting impact on future generations. The conflict reshaped international relations and set the stage for the modern world. World War II was a global conflict fought on multiple fronts, each with its unique characteristics and strategic importance. The war spanned continents and oceans, involving nations from every corner of the globe. It was a conflict that reshaped the world order and left a lasting legacy on international relations and military strategy. The European theatre, the primary battleground of the war, witnessed some of the most intense and devastating fighting. This theatre was the epicenter of the conflict, where the fate of Europe hung in the balance. The battles here were not just about territorial gains, but were also ideological clashes between fascism and democracy. From the icy plains of Eastern Europe to the beaches of Normandy, Allied and Axis forces clashed in a series of epic battles that determined the fate of nations. The Eastern Front saw the largest and most brutal confrontations, with cities like Stalingrad and Leningrad becoming symbols of resistance and suffering. Meanwhile, the D-Day landings in Normandy marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. The Eastern Front, characterized by its vast scale and brutality, became a meat grinder for both German and Soviet forces, with millions perishing in the fighting. The sheer scale of the conflict on this front was unprecedented, with entire armies being encircled and destroyed. The harsh winters and vast distances added to the misery of the soldiers, making it one of the most grueling campaigns in military history. In the Pacific Theater, Japan's early victories gave way to a long and arduous island-hopping campaign by the United States. This strategy involved capturing key islands and using them as bases to launch further assaults, gradually moving closer to the Japanese mainland. Each island captured was a step closer to victory, but each battle was fought with ferocious intensity. The Pacific War was marked by fierce naval battles, brutal island landings, and kamikaze attacks, culminating in the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The naval battles, such as those at Midway and the Coral Sea, were pivotal in turning the tide of the war. The island landings, including the infamous battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa, were characterized by their high casualties and intense combat. The North African campaign saw Allied and Axis forces battling for control of the strategically important Suez Canal. This campaign was crucial for maintaining supply lines and securing oil resources. The vast deserts of North Africa became the stage for a mobile war of maneuver, with tanks and aircraft playing a significant role. The campaign, fought in the harsh desert conditions of North Africa, played a crucial role in halting the Axis advance and paving the way for the Allied invasion of Italy. The battles of El Alamein were particularly significant, marking a turning point in the North African campaign. The harsh environment tested the endurance and resilience of the soldiers, with sandstorms and extreme temperatures adding to the challenges. Beyond these major theaters, the war also touched every corner of the globe, from the jungles of Southeast Asia to the Atlantic Ocean. In Southeast Asia, the conflict saw fierce fighting in the dense jungles, with guerrilla warfare becoming a common tactic. The Atlantic Ocean was the scene of a prolonged naval struggle, with convoys of ships braving the threat of German U-boats to deliver vital supplies. The Battle of the Atlantic, a protracted naval campaign fought between Allied and German submarines, was crucial in securing vital supply lines for the Allied war effort. The battle was a test of endurance and innovation, with both sides developing new technologies and tactics to gain the upper hand. The success of the Allies in this campaign ensured that Britain could continue to fight and that the United States could supply its forces in Europe. In China, the Second Sino-Japanese War, which had begun in 1937, continued to rage, with Chinese forces battling against Japanese occupation. This conflict was one of the longest and most brutal of the war, with millions of civilians caught in the crossfire. The Chinese resistance, despite being outgunned and outnumbered, managed to tie down significant Japanese forces, contributing to the overall Allied war effort. World War II was truly a global conflict, with battles fought on land, sea and air across vast distances, leaving an indelible mark on the world. The war's legacy is still felt today, with its lessons shaping modern military strategy and international relations. The sacrifices made by millions of people during this conflict continue to be remembered and honored around the world.